Hi, and welcome to the Human Side of Business podcast. I'm Ange MacCabe, CEO and co-founder of Intuity Performance. I'm a performance coach, HR professional, whole person leadership facilitator, and your host. The Human Side of Business podcast is fueled by the genuine curiosity to understand how personal characteristics and skills can be leveraged to drive individual and team performance, tangible outcomes, and ultimately organizational success within business. Each podcast is devoted to sharing knowledge, expanding our learning edges, and exploring the trends in corporate culture towards growing the emotional intelligence of organizations. I'm so glad you're here. Hi, and welcome to the Human Side of Business podcast. I'm Ange MacCabe, CEO and co-founder of Intuity Performance. I am a performance coach, HR professional, facilitator, and your host. The Human Side of Business podcast is fueled by the genuine curiosity to understand how personal characteristics and skills can be leveraged to drive individual and team performance, tangible outcomes, and ultimately organizational success within business. Each podcast is devoted to sharing knowledge, expanding our learning edges, and exploring the trends in corporate culture towards growing the emotional intelligence of organizations. I'm so glad you're here.
Welcome back to the Human Side of Business. I'm your host, Ange MacCabe, and this is episode 2 in our 10-part Back to Basics series. I'm here with Maria Maycock, Intuity Consultant and expert in helping leaders build human-centered habits that last. Welcome back, Maria.
Thanks, Ange. I loved our last conversation, and I can't wait to dig into today's.
Today, we're shifting focus from our first skill, reacting to responding, to something just as foundational, moving from judgment to curiosity. It's about transforming assumptions into inquiry, asking, what else could be true? That single question opens the door to trust, innovation, and growth. In fact, Harvard Business School, their research had found that when employees perceive their leaders as curious, they're 2.5 times more likely to feel psychologically safe. So we often hear that the terms around increasing psychological safety in the workplace. Well, this is the habit that needs to be formed.
Yeah.
Curiosity. And it's a core condition for performance and engagement. Today, we're going to talk about best practices, knowledge to action. And one way to go about this could be kicking off meetings with an open-ended curiosity question. Like, what's something we haven't considered yet with regards to this project? This invites inclusive thinking and sets the tone for safety and openness. So let's start with what we mean by judgment. Maria, jump in here. How does judgment show up at work?
Yeah, I mean, judgment's a defense mechanism. It's our brain's shortcut to certainty. It sounds like they're careless or that'll never work. As a defense mechanism, it's limiting and it closes the loop on inquiry before it even starts.
Right. So this is going on in the background. In our minds, I'm hearing, instead of actually looking to communicate, you're placing the judgment.
You've perceived something as negative, so your brain's going, oh, we're going to file that in the judgment category to protect ourselves from future conflict. But really, that's the trigger that we need to watch to dig a bit deeper.
Absolutely. And adding to this too, like, it's not necessarily just with conflict, although oftentimes it is. It could be backed in with fear, ego, overexcitement, or even bias.
Absolutely.
Right? We know, though, all of these things are fueled by untested assumptions. So those quick conclusions can really chip away at trust amongst teams or within your peer group, essentially.
Absolutely.
Without even realizing it, without intent, right?
100%. It's a lot of it is just the framework that we've existed in. So leading with judgment is like operating on autopilot. It shifts us into ego or defensiveness, as we've said. Research in organizational psychology shows that confirmation bias increases under stress. So, hello, present day world, causing us to reinforce existing beliefs instead of seeking new perspectives. So again, it's that safety mechanism,
right?
Even if it feels crappy or negative, it still feels safe to be in judgment rather than to be in curiosity.
And when we're talking about confirmation bias, it means more so that what I think I know is. So I look for the validation of the same. To our listeners out there, how many of us are experiencing this? Because I found it was about 5 years ago, we did some work with a company out of British Columbia, and we worked with 12 of their leaders across all levels. So it went from introductory, they just were nominated as a leader or promoted, all the way up to individuals that were there for like 22 years. And so it was an interesting project because we were looking at all different levels of leadership. And what came out of it for one of the tenured leaders was this. They often come in from a place of judgment versus curiosity. So as our listeners are listening out there, regardless of if you're in active leadership or you're leading a project, in leadership roles, oftentimes, if we get into this place of, well, they should know the answer, they should come to me, why didn't they do this? Those are all thought processes of judgment. And that's what this particular experienced leader had identified. You know, I didn't see this about myself until now, when I should have been asking what was preventing them from doing the thing that I asked them to do, versus thinking that they were being insubordinate or just not following expectations or actions, right? So the best practice that backs into this one is that we need to really build our assumption awareness into our decision making. And it's literally, I think it's building on what we talked about last episode. It's taking that pause to ask, what assumptions are we making here? And how do we test them?
Absolutely.
And this small prompt can really counter those biases and builds cognitive flexibility.
Yeah. So curiosity is the antidote. It interrupts judgment. It keeps us open, especially when certainty feels tempting. Asking what else could be true shifts us from ego to empathy or compassion. So again, a best practice here would be use pre-mortem questions before making decisions, like, if this idea failed 6 months from now, what might have caused it?
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to go to a place of post-mortem.
Yeah.
That's what I'm used to.
Yeah, of course.
So
if you're preemptively out of the gate saying what this could look like if it went sideways,
right.
It just allows for, I wouldn't say an acceptance of failure. Of course, you want to still move in the right direction. But if you out of the gate kind of name worst case scenarios,
to me, it's improving that foresight.
Totally.
And diversifies input. Like, you're asking for input even before there's allowance for judgment to set in.
And because the default is judgment, we do, like we said in the last episode, need to build these skills like we build our muscles. So to practice moving from judgment to curiosity, if we can preemptively think of these scenarios.
Wait, you mean you can't just turn on a switch and then stop being judgmental?
Sadly, no. Spoiler alert. No. Yeah. So again, thinking of these scenarios of potential judgment ahead of time will allow you again to kind of practice your reaction in the moment.
Very much so. And who better to do that than Coach Maria?
Totally. Or Coach Ange.
Or any of our other Intuity coaches, to listeners out there. So getting back down to the root of things, how do leaders apply curiosity in the real world?
It sounds overly simplistic, not to make it sound easy, but it starts in the moment. So let's say someone misses a deadline. Instead of thinking they're unreliable, say, I noticed the project didn't land on time. Can you walk me through what happened?
I like that, because that is, to me, the real world definition of being curious. So you're still addressing the issue. There's still accountability that needs to be had there, but it's with openness instead of blame.
Exactly. I think those two words, openness and blame, are the key. So it's openness instead of blame
Or
for
judgment.
sure. Yeah.
Right?
So it isn't soft.
No.
It's strategic. It creates clarity and insight without eroding
You're right.
a relationship. So when we use questions like, what's your take? Or what else might be going on? Or help me understand, we just unlock better conversations. And I know managers that I've worked with that have literally printed these phrases off to have a visual reminder of
Yes.
how they need to kick things off rather than
Yes.
judgment.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to entertain this sidebar, Maria, because the first thing that came to mind, we all know what I'm like.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the kid that would touch the button that we're told not to touch. Or I really need to learn things by way of experiencing.
Yeah.
So I'm a doer and a learner.
Mm-hmm.
And even with leadership and the growth and the same, I know in past I had a team and I started asking questions like these without setting the context.
Oh, okay.
And they thought that because this was a new approach, that I was looking to either get one over on them or I wanted to kind of like bait and switch, like set them up.
Interesting. Yeah.
And so if I can offer anyone advice on this is when you're trying things out for the first time, go back to that transparency piece.
Yeah.
Right. And say, hey, like, I want to be able to speak to you, team, as I'm coming in from a place of curiosity. So instead of making assumptions and statements and having sticky conversations with you, I want problem solving conversations from a place of curiosity. So I'm going to ask a lot more questions instead of statements.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that really would have bridged the trust.
Right. Yeah.
Instead of me just kind of speeding through and assuming that they know that I'm coming from a place of greater good.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I can speak to that. We've had a scenario recently where, a coaching clients just aren't used to coaching type questions or conversations.
Yes.
And if that's not front loaded with this is what a coaching approach looks and sounds like, you're going to be incredibly frustrated. So when I share, if we're doing this correctly, you should be speaking 80% of the time and me 20% of the time.
Correct. Yeah.
Because we're also used to being talked at or trained.
Yes.
When it's shifted to this type of questioning, it does feel really strange. And we are just programmed to want to be told, even if it's unpleasant,
or be skeptical,
or want the answer. So I think that's a great piece of advice is, if you're a leader that's shifting from someone who doesn't practice this type of dialogue with your team, definitely front load them. Yes. Don't just start throwing open-ended questions out there without some type of context, because it could be interpreted the way you just shared. As, which, if nothing else, is odd.
Yeah. It just felt awkward.
I'm used to this
for everybody
talking at me, giving me direction.
Yeah.
Now,
why are they asking me questions?
Open-ended questions are a thing. So
what I'm hearing here is like my brain goes to process flow. So what you've described there is the what and the why. And then the how is or are the curiosity questions. It's kind of like the picturesque that's coming out. So what do we believe, Maria, is the outcome when curiosity becomes a habit? So once we build that muscle.
Psychological safety increases. I think that's the biggest outcome, and therefore trust, I think, is the biggest outcome. There was a study by Google's Project Aristotle. It found that teams with high psychological safety were the top performers, not surprising, and curiosity-driven conversations are one of the fastest ways to build it.
Right. And on the tails of that equals connectivity.
Absolutely.
Right.
So trust equals connectivity.
Yeah.
So a couple of best practices in this area would be incorporating a team norm where every major discussion ends with an open floor reflection. Just something like, is there anything we've missed or another angle we should consider? Another one could be when you're coaching your team, replace judgment with curiosity using the SBI Q framework, which is just situation, behavior, impact, adding question in there. So that would be like, in yesterday's client call, that's your situation. I noticed you cut off the client. That's the behavior.
Yes.
It seemed to shift the tone. There's your impact.
Okay.
What was going on for you in that moment? And there's your question. So I can repeat that.
Powerful.
Yeah. So situation, behavior, impact. In yesterday's client call, there's your situation. I noticed you cut off the client. There's your behavior. It seemed to shift the tone. There's your impact. What was going on for you in that moment? There's the question at the end.
I think this is so powerful because when you add the question instead of a statement, you're showing genuine care and concern for that other person who's across the table from you, or the human that's across the table from you. What's going on with them and how can you serve them?
Exactly. And it's just acknowledging that they're human, and also that underperformance, or in this case, having a negative impact on the client isn't their default. No, it's going, hey, normally you're awesome. What was up with that one scenario? Let's unpack it if we can. I will add that, again, if we go back to that psychological safety piece, I wouldn't go down these paths if your team doesn't feel trusting in you. So again, you really need...
Or amongst themselves.
Or amongst themselves, yeah. So really foundationally, you need to work on the psychological safety piece before digging in too far.
So what I'm hearing is psychological safety is the prerequisite to having a culture or a leadership approach of curiosity.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And I think, again, if you're shifting from judgment to curiosity culturally in your department or your organization, just being transparent about that and communicating, this is the way we've been operating. We're trying a new way of facilitating meetings, for the next 2 months. Like adding in, is there anything we missed or another angle we should consider? So, baby steps, and being transparent about the change of, whether it's, again, the running of meetings or how you show up in the morning or whatever it might be.
I think that's fantastic. So let's talk about this from a practicality standpoint. So to our listeners out there, let's really start to look at, how do we start building curiosity into our habits? Because we know that this is a great thing to do.
Yeah.
It increases innovation, problem solving, confidence in team members, the whole 9 yards. But how do we ensure that this isn't like one and done? It actually becomes a habit.
Absolutely. So, me and my lists.
Love them.
Got a short one.
They're getting shorter.
They are getting short. This
I'll give
is
you that.
only 3. Thank you.
Okay.
Track your assumptions.
I never thought about that.
So I guess maybe we should say before any of this, there needs to be an intention around, I want as a leader to move from judgment to curiosity. Sorry.
It's okay.
So first is track your assumptions.
Okay.
So catch yourself when mentally you fill in the blank. You notice yourself leaping to judgment. That will probably often feel like frustration.
They should have known how to do this.
Exactly. Number 2, pause and reframe. Ask yourself what else could be true. That's a very powerful question, I find.
Maybe they're sick.
Yeah.
And they just don't want to tell you and let you down. Or
maybe their beloved pet just died.
It
or,
could be.
Yeah.
Or it could be that even though it's the same process, that's standardized across an industry, maybe their previous employer had regimentally asked them to do it a different way. And they thought that was
totally. Yeah. Or they're used to, startup culture and now they're in a big organization or
structure and SAPs. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So first, track your assumptions. So just catching yourself when you're mentally filling in the blank. Number 2, pausing and reframing, asking yourself what else could be true. And then 3, build curiosity rituals. So integrating, as we've been talking about, into meetings, space for feedback and looking forward. May not need to be necessarily formal planning session. No, just a look ahead, even if it's what would this look like if it absolutely went totally sideways? So I'll say it again. Track your assumptions. So catching yourself when you've mentally fill in the blank. Pause and reframe, asking yourself what else could be true. And then building curiosity rituals. That could be at the beginning of meetings, adding the 2-word check-in, or at the end, is there anything I've missed? Is there anything anyone wants to add?
Or preventing misunderstandings.
Yeah, totally.
And I'm hearing you, Maria, that these 3 steps are all back into the intention of moving from judgment to curiosity.
Exactly.
How do we know that we have our judgy pants on?
That's a good question. For me, it's very similar to what we talked about in the last episode.
Okay.
With reactivity. So I can feel my judgment. But I would say outwardly, it's probably tone. I would say when I'm communicating, my tone certainly changes.
Okay.
Yeah.
For me, it's my inner dialogue. It gets loud.
Oh, interesting.
Like, typically speaking, when it comes to my inner dialogue, I know that if I'm actually listening to someone, I'm listening to see what's next. I'm listening to see how they feel. I'm listening to understand them. When I'm in that mindset of judgment, it's like, I have it on 3x speed, like a podcast, and already I've made an assumption of what they're doing, why they're doing it, and who they hate because they're doing it.
So do you have a narrative that's happening?
Yeah, it's an internal narrative, 100%, 100%. So I know for me, it's being able to quiet my brain, and my flag is if the narrative's loud, then I need to take a step back and be curious about things.
Right.
And I want to normalize the fact that we're human first. So it's not going to be perfect.
No.
And it's also asking, it doesn't mean that I can justify judgment. I'll use myself, for example.
Yeah.
I can, if it comes out in a tone or behavior, I can therefore say, hey, I need to own something here. I had a narrative in my mind. I don't need to tell you what it is.
Yeah.
Right? But there's a narrative.
Yeah.
And hearing you, I just want to acknowledge, thank you because of XYZ. You've right-sided my narrative. I think it goes back to what you said in an earlier episode too, with regards to transparency. So as we're practicing, and unfortunately we're practicing on each other in the workplace, it's just having that transparency around curiosity and explicitly identifying that your intent is to move away from judgment.
Absolutely.
Because it's not a 1 to 100 sum activity. It's a whole spectrum, and you can move forwards and you can move backwards depending on triggers, environment, context, situation. Yeah. So again, it's building those reps and those muscles when it comes to curiosity, I think.
Totally.
Yeah. And this really aligns with regards to thinking further about teams.
Yeah. So I think leaders can create a culture that normalizes curiosity, like we've been saying. So I touched on a couple just a few minutes ago, but creating weekly curiosity rounds. I mean, have fun with however you name them. It doesn't matter. But
yeah,
a space where people pose open-ended questions about projects or challenges. We have coaching clients at the moment that we see valuing that group space to share and do exactly this has been so impactful because everyone's so busy and booked back to back, and some folks are not physically in office, or they're all hybrid or whatever it may be. So intentionally carving out, 30 minutes where folks can just kind of have this open-ended space for current projects and challenges can be super impactful. Celebrate not just results, but good questions, or just noticing curiosity. People asking good questions. It's super simple.
That's a great question.
Yeah.
That seemed thorough.
Yeah. And prompting your team with, phrases like, what's another angle on this?
I want to positively challenge that one because we often talk to our clients about fixed mindset versus growth mindset. Backed into Angela Duckworth's brilliant work and research. And what I would positively challenge listeners out there is not just to ask what is one different angle on this, but what are the other angles on this? Because that gets us into that flexibility, growth mindset space versus my way or the highway, or this is my idea and we have to stick to it. That's kind of what comes up for me by way of trial and testing in different leadership groups.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
And this really aligns with Gallup's 2023 data that showed teams with high psychological safety are 27% more likely to report excellent performance and 40% more likely to retain top talent. When we are in this today's age and market and political stuff that's going on, 40% more likely to retain your top talent.
Yeah.
That is not just hundreds of thousands of dollars. We're talking millions to hundreds of millions.
Yeah.
And thinking about this from a couple best practices approach, publicly praising good questions in team settings, you named that already.
Yes.
Some people don't like that. I still think that validation is key. So team members can then have some sort of signal
100%.
as to, are we being curious or are we not being curious here?
Positive reinforcement, all about it. Use it with my almost 6-year-old all the time.
Same with mine. And it's not to set them up for failure, to make them think that they're winners every single time. That's
No.
It's identifying with regards to positive psychology.
Yeah, it's like in the workplace, I think it's, I see you trying.
Yeah.
Thanks. Keep going.
Yes. That equals trust, equals connectivity and value.
Equals retention.
Yes. Another best practice is individually for leaders that are listening out there, curiosity journal. So spending 3 minutes daily, it doesn't have to even be full sentences. It's just identifying where your curiosity improved, because the way our brains have been wired, whether it be from a competitive perspective, an academia perspective, or otherwise, it's like 0 to 100. And anything below an 80 is not great. When we're thinking about building leadership skills or doing our reps, 1% is phenomenal. And you build on that. So it makes it attainable.
And writing it down, that piece, again, there's such power in seeing, and visualizing. So yeah, don't make it feel big and onerous.
Right.
Like you said, doesn't even need to be whole sentences. Just 3 minutes of where curiosity improved a situation or where judgment blocked it. Like if it's hard to name where curiosity worked, then have your list of where judgment impeded your interactions that day. That's just as powerful. Then you can start to shift that.
And I hear you. It's tying back into that awareness piece. Interesting, huh? So that's the episode, everyone, to our Back to Basics series, Judgment to Curiosity. When we shift from assumption to inquiry, we lead with openness. And that's where connection and creativity thrive.
And retention. Curiosity is a habit, just like any other skill. So every time we practice it, we make it more accessible. And every time we lead with it, we create a healthier workplace.
Thank you, everyone who's tuning in with us and listening. We're so grateful to have you here. If you're not already subscribed, please hit that button, share this episode, and challenge your assumptions this week. We'll see you next time for episode 3, Telling to Listening, only on the human side of business. Take good care.
Thanks for listening to the Human Side of Business podcast. I'm glad you could join us. If you enjoyed today's episode and want to stay updated with our latest content, make sure to visit our website. The link can be found in the episode description, where you can subscribe to the podcast, sign up for our newsletter, and learn more about our whole person leadership services. Sounds interesting? Explore the Whole Person Leadership Cohort by Intuity Performance, a unique program that offers unparalleled support to managers on every step of their leadership journey. Our program features evidence-based assessments, workbooks, group coaching, and interactive learning experiences to help you level up your leadership skills. Reach out today to apply to one of our upcoming cohorts. Until next time, take care and stay curious. Thanks for listening to the Human Side of Business podcast. I'm glad you could join us. If you enjoyed today's episode and want to stay updated with our latest content, make sure to visit our website. The link can be found in the episode description, where you can subscribe to the podcast, sign up for our newsletter, and learn more about our whole person leadership services. Sounds interesting? Explore the Whole Person Leadership Cohort by Intuity Performance, a unique program that offers unparalleled support to managers on every step of their leadership journey. Our program features evidence-based assessments, workbooks, group coaching, and interactive learning experiences to help you level up your leadership skills. Reach out today to apply to one of our upcoming cohorts. Until next time, take care and stay curious.